Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we discuss how do I maximize my Social Security benefits. When it comes to how much you get for Social Security, I will tell you what the top amounts currently are, and then we can discuss ways for you to be able to achieve that. Currently, the maximum benefit is $3,627 a month for someone at full retirement age. Now, the age that you would be considered fully retired, that can vary, and I'll put a chart up that just shows what that amount is. But for the majority of you, if you work until you're 67, that is considered your full retirement age. The absolute maximum benefit that an individual can receive per month of Social Security income is currently in the year 2024, $4,873. Now, I'll put a link to another video where I go into some detail about how to calculate your Social Security benefits, but today we're going to focus on how do you maximize the amount that you're going to receive. And we'll go over 9 strategies. Some of them you probably heard and some of them you may not have, but we'll go through all 9 of them, and then you put the plan together on how you want to maximize your Social Security benefits. Now, to be fair, a lot of this is going to depend on you and your own unique circumstances. And what I mean by that is, I know people who will say, look, Dre, I had a friend who did not claim Social Security benefits and they died at 65. So they never received 1 cent of the money they put into Social Security, which is true. I know other people who have said, look, Dre, I had a friend that waited till 70. They received the maximum amount that they could get, and they lived to like 100 and something years old. That's equally true, which is why some of the strategies that we're going to discuss may not make sense for you in your own unique situation. But first and foremost, let's start with the basics, the things that's true for all of us. And that is we got to get the 40 Social Security credits to be eligible to receive Social Security benefits. I'll put a link to another video where I go into calculating and figuring out what that number is. But you have to be eligible for Social Security before we talk about any of these strategies, approaches, ways to maximize it. Think of it like those old lottery commercials where they say you got to have a ticket for a chance to win or something like that, where it's not enough for us to just figure out the maximum amount that we can get, but we got to make sure that we have the 40 credits to be eligible. Number 2 is waiting to claim the benefits, and that goes with number 3, which is waiting for your full retirement age. Now, each year that you wait to take your Social Security benefits, you receive an 8% bump in how much you can receive. If someone was to receive their Social Security at 62 right when they were eligible, that would generally be about 30% less than what they would have received if they were able to wait for their full retirement age. Now, when you think about that number, you have 2 things to consider. One is you have to consider how much money you would be getting over the years if you started at 62, and then you take that number and compare it against if you waited till your full retirement age and then you receive that larger amount. We call that the break-even point when you consider how long would I need to live for that number to make sense. That number tends to be somewhere around 10 years, where if you were able to wait till your full retirement age, you're going to have made back all of the money based on the higher amount that you'd receive per month versus the amount of money that you received at the lower amount, but you started earlier. Next, you could consider not only delaying till your full retirement age, but you can consider delaying until you turn 70 years old. Now, when you look at the amount of money that you would receive from Social Security when you retire at 62 and start claiming benefits versus if you wait till 70 and start claiming benefits, you'll see that the number tends to be so around 125% higher, which is a pretty noticeable amount of income that you would receive. But again, it depends on your own personal situation. Things that you'd want to consider is, do I need cash right now? Do I have money that I can live off of for those 8 years? Am I worried about my overall health and I just feel like it's unlikely that I'm going to be alive for another 10 years? If these are things that you're concerned about, then really waiting doesn't make a lot of sense. Go ahead and take advantage of your Social Security benefits right now. While the amount may be lower, it just might make sense for you based on the concerns that you have. Next, you want to optimize your Social Security for spousal benefits. Your spouse is able to receive up to 50% of your Social Security benefits depending on your overall situation. Now, if you're watching this and your spouse is the one that makes the most money, then you may be able to coordinate so that you can receive up to 50% of their Social Security benefits as well. While we talk about optimizing for our spousal benefits, we can also optimize for widow benefits. If your spouse has already passed, claiming survival rights at the right time is critical. You can claim a reduced benefit as early as 60 years old, or there are ways that you can claim the entire benefit if you wait to your full retirement age. Again, optimizing for your own unique situation requires you to consider your own financial needs, how long you plan on living, and a variety of other things, but it is not something that you should be guessing. You should have a solid reason why you chose the year that you chose. And that's really for all of us. There's no reason for us to just kind of go with what someone else said, where someone in their unique situation, they said, look, I took mine as soon as I could. And they told the story of their friend who had passed before they were able to receive anything. But if you're not worried about passing early, sure, we don't know what's going to happen, But if you feel really good, you have good genes and good health, and you just don't have a lot of problems, then it may make sense for you to wait. This can vary for each of us. And one thing that I will encourage you to do, and it's something that I do, is I always ask people why they made that decision. What is it that you were trying to accomplish? If their goal is aligned with my goal, great. I understand what they were doing, and that makes sense for me. But if their goal was something different, where it just doesn't make sense for me in my own situation, well, now I know that that doesn't really apply to me. Just by asking those extra questions, we're able to figure it out. Sometimes you'll find out, and it happens a lot of the time, where the person is doing it just because someone told them to do it. And they're just sharing that information. It actually reminds me of this story that Jim Rome shares, and he talks about him and his wife and how they would go back and forth on whether you eat the tops or the bottom of radishes. And they eventually ended up each asking their parents why they did it. And then they asked their grandparents why they did it. And they sort of just found out that there wasn't really any rhyme or reason. It was just the way it was always done. And nobody ever questioned it. By you questioning it, you can make a much better decision, an informed decision that you're very comfortable with. When someone asks you or someone offers you a different plan, you can say, no, 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 this makes sense for me and my situation. And that peace of mind that you will have, it's almost priceless. Next, don't forget to maximize your earnings. Social Security takes your top 35 years of income and they use that to calculate your benefits. If you find out that you're making a lot more money in your later years and you want to replace some of your earlier years, then taking another 1 to 5 years to replace some of those lower income earning years, it might make sense for you. Because on average, our highest earning income years are going to be from 55 to 65. That's just the way it works for most of us. Even if you had the exact same job your entire career, and you just got your 2 to 3% increase every year, well, guess what? You're still going to have your best earning years on the latter half of your working career. So, if it makes sense for you where you're just worried about that overall retirement number and you're in great health and you love the job that you have, sure, why not consider working or replacing some of those lower years and significantly increasing the amount of money that you can receive each month in Social Security benefits? Naturally, that leads very nicely into the next one, which is you got to keep track of the records. Do not assume the government is going to get it right. Don't just say, oh, the number that they told me, it must be right. Why would it be calculated wrong? There are people who are being sued by the government where the amount of money that they received was too much, and the government is allowed to claw back that extra money that they paid you, and you have to pay it back. And what they do in most cases is they reduce your future benefits until you pay them back the entire amount. So you want to stay on top of that and check your earning records. And I do have another video where I show you how to calculate your Social Security benefits just to make sure that your statement is correct and that they're giving you the right amount. But you just want to keep a look at that, even if it's on the opposite end where they're underpaying you, where they owe you more, you've worked more, you've made more money, and they just have the wrong number. Then you want to be able to call them up and say, hey, I know how much I should have. I was checking my records. You're underpaying me. Even though we feel it's not our job, the opposite can also be very beneficial for us. Or, hey, can you recheck my number? It seems like you might be overpaying me. I just came up with a different number myself. Now, most people will say, and I agree with you, Dre, that shouldn't be my job. I 100% agree. It should not be your job, but it's in your own best interest. You do not want the government coming back and asking for $60,000 because they said they overpaid you over a 10-year period. That has happened and it continues to happen, and you just want to be aware of it. Last but not least, you got to keep an eye on your taxes. Most people are very surprised to find out that their Social Security benefits are taxable. And I do have the numbers. So currently, if you're between $25,000 to $34,000 as an individual, up to 50% of your benefits could be taxed. For a lot of people, if you have any additional sources of income, you're probably going to be over that amount, which means that about half of your Social Security benefits are eligible to be taxed. If, as an individual, you make more than $34,000 a year, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits could be taxed. Again, that's not a very high number. If you have over $34,000 in retirement income, that means up to 85%, almost all of your Social Security benefits is going to be eligible to be taxed. Now, if you're filing jointly, that number does increase, but it does not increase by double. So if you're filing jointly, then your Social Security benefits being taxed is almost a certainty. But if you're filing jointly, you have between $32,000 and $44,000, then up to half of your benefits could be taxed. If you make over $44,000, which is $22,000 each of you, then that means up to 85% of your Social Security benefits will be eligible to be taxed. As you can see, that number is higher than filing as an individual, but it's not relatively higher. That number is much smaller. So if you're filing jointly, the possibility of your Social Security benefits being taxed is almost a certainty. So you just want to prepare ahead of time and make sure that you're ready. So when it comes to optimizing your Social Security benefits, you can see from this video, there's a lot of moving pieces. Another thing that many people want to consider is whether they could just work till 70. If you can work until your full retirement age, you enjoy what you're doing, you're traveling, everything is great, you love the people you work with, well, then now you don't have to figure out how to fund your lifestyle while you wait to be fully retired. But if you are going to retire early, then that means you may have to figure out how to fund your retirement for those 8 years. If you want to retire at 62, but you want to claim benefits at your full retirement age, well, then you got to put a plan together to figure out what you're going to do from 62 to 67. As long as you have a plan to fund your lifestyle, then you can take that 8% gain in your Social Security benefits each year. If you don't have an income strategy in place, then taking the benefits right away might be the only option that you have. As you can see, it really varies depending on each of our own unique individual situations. But based on the options I've given you, go ahead and choose which ones make the most sense for you and then optimize your Social Security benefits based off of that. If you found value in this video, go ahead and like and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable insights on how to create your own wealthy retirement plan so that you can worry less and live more. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy life.